Well, President Trump's show of force against Syria, a stark contrast to President Obama's empty red line promise back in 2013. Perhaps no one understands this more than our next guest, a Syrian refugee who survived the horror of Assad's regime's 2013 chemical attack. His message to President Trump is a simple one: thank you. Joining us now to tell his story is activist and former Syrian rebel Qasim Eid. Nice to see you this morning. Qasim, you're in Germany this morning. When you saw what unfolded from the Trump administration in Syria over the past 72 hours, what was your response?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. We've been waiting and screaming for help for more than 6 years, while the Obama administration just stood back and watched us getting slaughtered by the murderer dictator Bashar al-Assad. 500,000 people got killed. 12 million people got displaced and became refugees. That little boy, Ilan Kurdi, drowned in the sea, and so many others died while they were trying to flee for their own lives. We got gassed in 2013. 1,400 people were killed, and nothing happened until President Trump saw what happened 3 days ago when the Assad regime gassed more than 100 civilians, including a lot of women and children. And he made the right decision, and he struck the criminal who killed all those civilians. I felt happy, I felt grateful. I felt for the very first time in 6 years that the United States will actually do something, that my faith in this great country did not get disappointed again, like it did when President Obama was in power. Sir, I just want to say, I learned English from reading a forbidden magazine called Reader's Digest. But I learned English because I fell in love with the United States since I was 5 years old. We were taught in school that the United States is an evil country. It's the evil power in the world. But while reading about that country, I found out that what we're getting taught is wrong. I had a lot of faith in the United States. I used to tell my friends during the demonstrations when the Assad regime used to kill us while we were chanting for freedom that don't worry, the United States will help, that someday, somehow, they will come and do something. But President Obama let us down for more than 6 years until President Trump showed up and he made the right decision by striking the criminal. I feel very grateful. Very, very grateful.
I can hear it in your voice, and obviously what you went through in 2013 in that gas attack in Syria, arguably even more horrible than the gas attacks we saw over the past 72 hours and this week, and yet there was no help that came. But if you look at the left-wing narrative here in the United States and the left-wing media, portraying Donald Trump as cruel for this extreme vetting and the ban from these countries. What was your response about this? We have Elizabeth Warren's tweet yesterday, Senator in the United States. I want to read this to you and get your response. If Donald Trump truly wants to help Syrians fleeing murderers, he should drop his effort to ban their children from America immediately. But you don't agree with that. You want to go back to Syria.
Sir, we rebelled against the brutal dictatorship that ruled Syria for more than 40 years. We rebelled to stay home, to stay in our country, to make our country a better place for all Syrians, so we can all live for the very first time as equal citizens. We sacrificed our families, our lives, our schools, our future to see our country a better place. And unfortunately, because of the inaction of President Obama and the international community, we were forced to leave. We were kicked out of our country. Syrians want to stay in Syria. We don't want to become refugees. We didn't rebel and made all those sacrifices to become refugees, not in the States, not in Germany, not in Europe, not anywhere else. We want to stay in Syria where we belong, in the country that we love. We want to go back and rebuild it and have free elections and live in democracy just like you live.
How important is it for you to have American leadership? How important is it for you to have American leadership in this move to get you back home?
It's beyond description. I told you I grew up having faith in this country. I learned my language. I learned English because I fell in love with this country, with the principles that this country was based on. For everyone who might forget that the United States is not just a country of immigrants. It's also a country made by rebels. If it wasn't for the great American Revolution, there wouldn't be the United States. We also rebelled in Syria to have what you guys have, to have our own country, when we get to make our own decisions and we can all live equally. We just want to stay in our country. We just want to stay in Syria. I had enough with all this rhetoric about the refugees, about all this demonstrations that came out after the travel ban. I didn't see any demonstrations when we were getting slaughtered for 6 years. I didn't see anybody demonstrating in 2013 after the chemical gas attack. I didn't see the media going crazy after President Obama for his inaction or his lies about get rid of the chemical weapons. We all know Assad still have chemical weapons, and 3 days ago he proved it. He proved that they were lying. They were lying to us. I just want to tell everyone who's watching, I left Syria. I was forced to leave Syria in 2014. I came to the United States and I testified in Congress, in the Senate, in the State Department, in the DOD, in the White House, in the United Nations Security Council. I spoke in think tanks and universities. I wrote op-eds. I was on 60 Minutes.
And yet people were not listening.
All over.
Right.
And no one came to help. I left the United States last year out of disappointment,
Kasim,
not out of travel ban.
We're
out of
Unfortunately, we're going to lose our satellite here, Kasim. We all, I think, want you to be able to return home, and hopefully you'll be able to do that soon. Kasim Eid, who's in Germany this morning, we appreciate you joining us.